Okay. Hi, my name is Philip, and I'm going to be refuting Isaac's claim, which is that vaccines containing thimerosal cause significant health problems to people, especially infants in utero. So to start, I would like to bring up his two supporting claims, which are that mercury from thimerosal in vaccines is a hazardous amount for infants in utero, and his second supporting claim is that mercury is just as poisonous to adults, even the organic mercury from thimerosal. So just to define thimerosal, it is a preservative containing mercury, most commonly found in vaccines, more specifically in the flu vaccine. So going back to his first claim, his first supporting claim, which is that mercury from thimerosal in vaccines is a hazardous amount for infants in utero, I'd like to bring up that the advocate's grounds for this claim relied on assumptions made by the researchers that he cited, while the reality of these practices provide for different results. His evidence cited three assumptions. His first assumption was that 50% of the mercury in the vaccine would be going to the infant in utero. The second assumption is that infants in utero would be receiving mercury doses 2.5 times EPA safety limit for infants through the influenza vaccine. And his third assumption is that 99% of the mercury would be eliminated through the placenta when it was transferring to the child in utero. In 1999, I would like to bring up that there was a gradual reduction in mercury in vaccines, which leads us up to today, where there are several types of flu vaccines, some of which not even containing mercury at all. So it's definitely a mother's choice whether she wants to opt out of having mercury in her flu vaccine. Assumptions are based on the assumption that the infant will intake more than the EPA safety limit for mercury. My advocate also brought up that the significant link between ASD, which is autism spectrum disorder, and the thimerosal found in childhood vaccines. He also brought up that there is a significant link between ASD, which is autism spectrum disorder, and the thimerosal found in childhood vaccines. A 9-year study conducted in Poland about TCVs, which are thimerosal-containing vaccines, and their effects on children's cognitive development, proposes this idea that during pregnancy and neonatal periods there is no connection at all between the cognitive development of children and the amount of exposure they had of thimerosal in the vaccines. The results of psychological tests verifying children's cognitive development were mostly on the same level in groups exposed and not exposed to TCVs in both neonatal and 6-month periods. There's also no significant differences observed in the proportion of children with poor cognitive test results caused by neonatal TCV exposure in the case of all studied tests. So in conclusion of this experiment, there was no significant differences between children treated with DCVs and children who were not. His second claim, just to remind you all, it is that mercury is just as poisonous to adults, even the organic mercury from thimerosal. So I noticed that there was a discrepancy in his reasoning, and I noticed that thimerosal being a hazard to adults does not provide sufficient evidence or provide a sufficient connection to prove that thimerosal is also harmful to infants in utero. The advocate proposes that thimerosal is hazardous to adults in spite of his main claim revolving around infants. He says that loss of peripheral vision, muscle weakness, hearing loss, and vision loss are all attributed to exposure to mercury. However, WebMD says that eye trouble, hearing loss, and a decrease in strength or stamina are all signs of normal aging. Peripheral vision impairment also is one of the more prominent symptoms that are seen when mercury poison is evident. However, WebMD also says that peripheral vision impairment and glaucoma are mostly inherited and less commonly caused by direct blunt or direct chemical injury to the eye infections, or blocked blood vessels. These signs, however, have no significant link to the organic mercury in thimerosal. So all in all, it is very difficult to compare an adult to a child, or an infant in utero for that matter. Adults age in a very different way than children and infants develop, and in the process of aging, it is very difficult to distinguish where aging stops and chemical poisoning begins. So overall, there are various arguments that say that thimerosal does or does not cause health problems to infants, but it is very difficult to prove that thimerosal is a definite cause for these certain developmental issues. Thank you.
All right, structural stuff is fine. On the first point, you explain what the premises are of the advocate's research, and then you suggest that those premises would not actually be met. And in fact, you have a point where you suggest that there's been a gradual reduction in mercury. You need a source citation on that. I don't really think that you provided that. You just treated that as a given, and I'm not sure that it's true. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying that you need to prove it. And then the argument on that denies the link to ASD. I thought you had a good job. You did a good job citing the Polish study, and that there isn't any significant difference between the groups that are being compared there. That all seems very reasonable on that particular point. On the second point, your argument mostly seems to be that the comparison to adults is problematic because adults have other reasons that the sorts of issues that are supposedly linked to thimerosal are that they actually developed those for a variety of other reasons. So it's a reasoning challenge there. There's not much explanation of what the advocate's proof was on this particular point. Your point seems to suggest that because these are infirmities that people develop as they get older, it's just a coincidental relationship, or it's definitely caused by the aging process as opposed to the fact that somebody is being exposed to mercury in any of the medications that they're taking. That's a reasonable press. Again, there's not enough discussion of what the advocate's evidence on this particular point was. Your final conclusion is that it's difficult to reach a conclusion about these things. I think that's a fair assessment of the argument at the end. I don't know that you've definitely denied the advocate's point, but you have suggested that the confidence in the conclusion is problematic. All right.